Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to the marketplace. Coming up this afternoon, the finance minister admitting government would end the year spending more than projected due to COVID-19. Meanwhile, staff of the finance ministry have been asked to work from home until further notice as a COVID-19 precautionary measure. Also coming up, we'll explore tax relief measures for businesses and individuals in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. Plus, COVID-19 is inspiring new textile designs, adding color to these dark moments. We have a special report ahead. Thanks for being with us this afternoon. Details right after this break. Welcome back to the marketplace, everyone. My name is Darryl Kwao. Quite a number of institutions are directing staff to work from home as they try to manage the spread of COVID-19. The finance ministry is the latest to announce such a move. It has shut down today after staff were tested for COVID-19. According to a memo cited by Joy Business, all staff members have been directed to work from home as they wait for the testing team to compile the results of the samples. Meanwhile, the finance ministry is assembling a team of core staff to operate from specific locations as part of preparations towards a mid-year review budget. The finance ministry joins a list of companies to institute internal restrictions to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Meanwhile, the finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, has admitted that government would end the year spending far more than has been projected. The minister disclosed this in an interview with Bloomberg News. He attributes this to the impact of COVID-19 on the economy. George Afe has details.
Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, according to the revised estimates in March this year, as he updated Parliament on the impact of the COVID-19 on the economy, was projecting a 7.8% in terms of the budget deficit. However, in an interview with the Bloomberg News, the minister has now projected more than 10% in terms of the budget deficit. This is about 5% more than what the laws mandates the minister to spend each year. On cash basis, the minister was looking at spending about 15.6 billion Ghana cedis more than the 67 billion Ghana cedis in revenue for this year. For the first quarter of this year, it has already recorded a deficit of 13 billion Ghana cedis on cash basis. For some, the development is worrying because this is an election year and they are fears the deficit might even be larger than what it has projected, meaning that next year they may have to look for some money elsewhere to finance the deficit, meaning that in terms of stabilizing the economy post-COVID, it may take a longer time than what has been projected.
Well, so to alleviate the economic burden of the COVID-19 pandemic, governments worldwide have implemented tax relief packages to cushion businesses and individuals. But how familiar are we with these interventions? Well, joining me to discuss is Kofi Frimpong-Kore, who is a partner, the tax unit at audit firm KPMG. It's great to have you on our program. So for individuals and businesses seeking tax reliefs during these times, what reliefs are available? If you can hear me, sir, I think you would have to unmute because we can not hear a word of what you're saying right now.
Okay, thank you, and good afternoon to your esteemed listeners as well.
Great to have you on the program.
And we are welcome. I think for now, the tax law that we operate with has given quite a number of reliefs to individuals and also to companies. So currently, a number of reliefs that are available, I should say, are just about 6 or 7 in all. And to list them, I'm sure the first one that I will list for individuals is what we call marriage or responsibility relief. That is tend to support those who are married and have dependent spouses. So if you are married and have a dependent spouse, then the government or the tax law allows you a bit of dispensation. And what it does is that it gives you 1,200 for the year. So you can deduct that 1,200 from your chargeable income when you are filing your returns. And this is a relief that you can take upfront. What that means is that you can take this on monthly basis if you are an employee, where when you are paying your PAYE from your salary or for your income that you earn. If you are a self-employed, you can also take this relief when you are filing your returns at the end of the year. And like I said, it's for married people who have a dependent spouse or who have 2 children that they are taking care of. The other relief that is also available for individuals is what we call the disability relief. And that is for those who are disabled. And that is calculated at 25% of the individual's chargeable income for the year. So assuming that I'm disabled and I'm earning income that is taxable, the law allows me free 25% of that income as free. I mean, I will not pay tax on that income. So if my annual income is, let's say, 20,000, then what it means is that 5,000 of that income will not be taxable. So that is also available for people with disability in the country. Then we have the old age relief. The old age relief is also for those who are beyond 60 years. So if you are beyond 60 years and you earn income which is taxable. So assuming that I've gone on retirement, but currently I'm doing something behind or beyond on my own. I have my own small business or my shop somewhere that I'm earning income. So because I'm supposed to pay taxes on those income, the law allows me a relief from that income that I'm earning. And currently, that also sets at 1,500 Ghana cedis for a year. So yes, once again, if you are filing your returns, you can have the benefit of accessing that relief from your income. Then we have the children education relief. The law also gives compensation for people who are looking after their children in all institutions in Ghana, from basic to tertiary institutions. So, and that allows for 3 children. So assuming that I have 3 children who are all currently in any of the government institutions now, or who are in education, will be educated from basic to tertiary institution, I'm also allowed a relief of 600 per child. So what it means is that I can take 1,800 for a year from my income, which is not taxable.
So those are some of the...
is also taken upfront. And once again, upfront means that...
So those are some of the reliefs for individuals. Can you take us through those for businesses as well?
Those, come again?
I'm saying that those are quite a number for individuals. How about businesses too?
Yeah, businesses as well. The relief, we have what we call the location incentive. So for businesses, for instance, I mean, if a manufacturing company and you set out outside Accra or any of the regional capitals, there's an incentive where your taxes are reduced. So currently we have those in the regional capitals, they are supposed to pay taxes at 18.75%. Outside the regional capitals, 18.75%, instead of the normal 25%. For those outside the district capitals, they are also pay taxes at 12.5% instead of the normal 25%. Beyond that, there's also what they call the fresh graduate relief for businesses. And I'm not sure how many people know of this fresh graduate relief. What it means that government allows businesses to take advantage of employing fresh graduates. So if you employ fresh graduates in your business, then depending on the number, the ratio of the fresh graduate to your current staff population. So let's say you employ 1% of your staff numbers are fresh graduates. There's a relief on the salary that you pay them. You can deduct that salary from your chargeable income as tax deductible. If you employ between 1% to 5%, there's also a relief that is allowed. And beyond 5%, there's also a relief that is also allowed. So these are all available for companies also to apply and to use them.
So there are quite a number of them, and some of them new to me as well, and I'm sure for many people who are watching us at this point. And so how easily accessible are these tax reliefs? How do people get to know about them?
Okay, like I said, I mean, how people get to know about them is usually education. So from as we have to chat about it this afternoon, people will get to know. But also to apply, you need to apply to the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority for a number of the reliefs. So when you get to the Commissioner General of the Revenue Authority, there are forms that you will fill. and then based on the information that you supply, they will approve for you. So once they are approved, they will give you what they call a card. And that card you can give to your employer, who will, based on that, deduct it from your salary when they are paying you. If you are self-employed, then when you are filing your returns, you can also use that one to make the deduction on your own. So once they give you that approval upfront, like I said, you apply it and they give it to you. So when it's approved and you have it readily available, then when you are filing your returns, you just deduct it based on the rules. The figures that I mentioned, the 1,200, the 25%, these are all enshrined in the current tax law that we are using. So it's not debatable at all. They are just readily available for you to just go ahead and apply it once you have the approval from the Commissioner General of the Revenue Authority. And I must add that for individuals as well, there's also mortgage interest that I'm not sure how many people also are available of. And that means that if you have an individual and take mortgage to build a house, and for one house, the law allows you for one house. So if you take a mortgage to put up a structure to accommodate yourself and your family, the interest that you pay on that mortgage, the law allows you to also deduct that interest from your taxes. So these are many more that are available that people can take advantage of.
Okay, so currently the government is trying to shore up revenue, but at the same time we are facing very difficult times when it comes to the economy, and these reliefs are very important. How do you advise government to strike the balance so that even though it's relieving people of certain taxes, it is also not on the losing side?
Yeah, I think our term is like the catch-22 situation, as people used to say it. I mean, the government derives the revenues from people and from businesses. So to be able to show up your revenues as well, you also need to now also allow people to be able to operate. I mean, in terms of taxes, I mean, we know we have both direct and indirect taxes. If people have available income to spend, then of course, we get more indirect taxes for the government. If people have more available money to spend from their salaries, they can spend.
Right.
If you allow them, businesses, to also have freedom in expansion or in employing more people, then of course the government will end up getting the revenue also from the expansions and from increased revenue. So yes, I mean, beyond expanding the tax net, I believe that if government allows or permits some of these things, I mean, grant much more relief to businesses so that they are able to get enough working capital to expand their businesses, to employ more people, then the same people will be paying taxes, the same people will be spending. And the more we spend, the more we all earn the indirect taxes that we are looking for. So I believe that is the way that government need to look at it.
All right.
To open up and allow people have access to revenue or access to income that they can spend. And once we are spending, the economy expands, the economy opens up, and more revenue is also earned in that situation.
Tell you what, we'll come back to you subsequently for some more education, because I believe there's so much to cover about taxes in general. I appreciate your time with us. That was Kofi Frimpong, who is a partner at the tax unit of the KPMG. We appreciate your time with us. Now, leading wax print company GTP has added some color in these dark moments, documenting the major events of the COVID-19 pandemic in a new line of designs. Charles Aite has seen them all, and in his report, you will also see these designs which have become the talk of town and a cash cow for dressmakers.
Textiles, they say, imprint the experiences of memorable events in our lives, be they exciting or gloomy as the coronavirus. Here in Ghana, a leading local textile firm, GTP, is giving a positive narrative to the coronavirus pandemic. Chronicling national events from the lockdown to the various presidential updates, I sat with Stephen Bedu, head of sales for GTP.
With the onset of COVID-19, the challenge we sought to address was, how do we tell the story of COVID-19 in a positive light? How do we put a positive twist to something as accursed as COVID-19? So we challenged our creative team to the task to say, guys, what do we do?
A lot has changed since Ghana recorded its first COVID-19 case. The emergence of lockdown measures and the restriction in movement have sent businesses gasping for survival. Interestingly, these measures have had a positive turn on the local textile industry, hitherto exposed to the illegal proliferation of fake textiles into the local markets from especially China and Nigeria. This is going to be the design room where all the magic happens. This is where all the magic happens. These creatives are the brains behind the 3 popular textile designs in the Ghanaian market. Fellow Ghanaians, Lockdown and Nana Spectacle. Oh yeah, you heard right.
Our President, His Excellency Nana Addo, you would notice that every time he addresses the nation, his salutation was always fellow Ghanaians. That was the first phrase you would hear. And it runs through all his speeches to the nation. And we thought this was a nice phrase to name the design which we're going to introduce, and therefore we came up with fellow Ghanaians. The other thing about those addresses that is the president's iconic spectacles. You can't miss it. And so that spectacle became the key motif. So in the fellow Ghanaians, you find that the spectacles runs through all the fellow Ghanaian designs. Of course, and in the case of Lockdown, the padlock and key, those were the key motifs that runs through all those designs. And so this, if you, in a nutshell, this is the rationale behind these 2 collections that we introduced onto the market some few weeks ago.
We find these times as very abnormal times, and as part of the things we do, we try to capture events and activities that go on, which are almost landmark in our history.
Bismek Edu-Asare oversees the creative desk of GTP. He walked me through the hidden details of these popular COVID-19 textiles.
This was, in our mind, the first measure that was taken. It was a stay-home measure. It was everybody being indoors. So we find chains and padlocks to the chains. So it was like we were all shut in at the beginning, the middle of March up to April. There was nothing you can do but to just stay at home. So that was the concept, stay at home measure. Okay, this is also lockdown. So you still find chains and padlocks.
I don't see the chains. What are the chains? We've moved from the land to the air.
The air.
Okay.
To the air, right.
So this one has to do with the
airports being locked.
The restrictions on air movements.
Air movements, okay. So you see fans like the airplane fan blazed with the padlocks attached to them. Sort of no-fly zone or restriction of passengers. And that Nana here was the brain behind.
Nana was the brain behind it. Okay, Nana. So what made you bring all these things together to symbolize the restriction on air movement?
Oh, okay, what we heard was there was a lockdown around the airports and then the borders and then the various shops have to be locked down. So I generated this idea from the aircraft. We have a padlock. Yeah, so which means the airports have been, or the borders have been locked. We have a keyhole here, and then you have a key holes here too. Yes. Yeah, and then you have a view of the padlock here. Yeah.
It's amazing the kind of brains you have in this design studio. But beyond all these things, we're getting the feedback, the demand is high. Has it put a strain on your guys here? Because it has to be doing so much to meet the demand.
Well, we are capable and we can take the demand. What happened was that we first produced 90,000 yards. Since then, we've put in about 300,000 yards. So I'm sure we can meet the demand.
Okay. I just can't wait to see the fellow Ghanaians and Akufo-Addo's spectacles.
You realize that in Ghana, the story could not be told without mentioning the Commander-in-Chief and the various weekly broadcasts he had to the nation. So in trying to depict it, what we did was that for one concept, we took his most favorite classic design, that is Pankasa, and put in the glasses, which has become iconic for our Commander-in-Chief, and put the two together to create this wonderful design. this was also the brainwork of the day. And it came out really nice. And we were amazed about the response. Yes, yes.
The response has been amazing.
Yes.
One thing about the textile industry has to do with the power of symbols. Yes. And during these times, this particular power is really catching up with so many Ghanaians. How do you intend to translate this particular thing into revenue?
Right. Since we created the design and then produced the cloth, for us, in selling it, it's like, it's not just about the revenue. It's getting every Ghanaian to own a part of this year. So that, as you rightly said, to posterity, we would have a story to tell. And that is more value to us. And in doing that, we also sell the brand name GTP.
The popular Fellow Ghanaians print was created by Franklina Dedenate. This design has glasses on them, similar to the signature ones worn by Ghana's President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, who's been given regular updates on the virus. How do you feel as a woman?
I feel very great and happy because at least I'm seeing people are liking it and they are also buying it. So I feel very happy about it.
The new fabrics have symbols like padlocks, keys, and planes to reflect some of the measures implemented to curb the spread of the coronavirus. Wax prints are popular in Ghana. Many office workers wear them on Fridays. Demand for these collections have skyrocketed, and for a textile company previously struggling to stay afloat, not more than 100,000 yardages of textiles hit the market daily, thanks to COVID-19.
We were amazed by the reaction of the public to this fabric. We've run out, we had to quickly set in motion the process to print some more. This is what happens in all our operations. The thing about designs is when you're introducing a new design, you never know how well it will be received. So you introduce like 10 designs into the market, sometimes only one, sometimes only two may be accepted by the market. So you introduce a certain minimum quantity to start with, to test the market, to see how well it will be received.
This warehouse is where distribution begins. Bundles of COVID-19 textiles ready to hit the local markets.
Demand is very high. We are in the COVID period. So a lot of people want the cloth just to remember the period one day, to tell their next generation that there was a period that we had the displeasure of the environment.
The textiles industry is a whole value chain. I visited this sewing shop owned by Linda Ashon. I'm interested to know how much revenue dressmakers are raking in.
As for this cloth, people are patronizing it. I've been stitching it a lot since they launched it. Every day, so people are coming with for their own. It seems the cloth, everybody wants to get some. Yeah.
So for you as a designer, as a seamstress, do you feel COVID-19 has really brought its positive side?
Yes, it has. Though it's a serious thing, but I think it has done a lot for us. Like we were locked down, we are home doing nothing. But I thank DTP for bringing this idea, this cloth to town. Because of this COVID, everybody wants to have some in their wardrobe.
3 months ago, these dressmakers would have had their shops under lock and key as restrictions on movement halted every aspect of business in Ghana. Things have changed for the better, and they are positive of making gains from the coronavirus. What was the name of this one?
This is my fellow Ghanaians.
So you had it right. But what particular feature of this cloth catches your attention?
It's the spectacles. That's our president's spectacles, and it's so lovely.
But aside from this particular texture, I believe there are other textures that you've tried as well.
Yes, I have done the lockdown. The lockdown too is very nice, so colorful. You can do everything with it. Working with it is not difficult at all. You can get your designs how you want it, and you can get the shades for men and women, and it's lovely.
Well, we have seen the extent to which the coronavirus has had an impact on the business community. But we've also seen the positive sides of this pandemic as various apparel sectors and players in this field are cashing in on these new materials by GTP. It's not just a historic indication of the fact that we are putting together the impact of COVID-19 imprint on the textiles, but also how much these guys are reaping in terms of the benefits in the long to medium term. I'm Charles Aite reporting for Joy Business.
Beautiful designs. And that's it for the marketplace. Thanks for watching. The election brief is up next.